Everybody, I'm here today with Bob Martel. Bob is a hypnotist. He has a real passion, especially with sleep. He's written a number of books. He's had a super interesting life story. Honestly, if we had 2 hours to speak to him, I would take it all up. But I need to be very appreciative of his time today. As always, if you've got any questions, just put it in the comments and we will try to answer it after sort of 20, 30-minute mark. And yeah, I'll invite Bob to the stage. So welcome today. Really grateful to have you here, Bob.
Welcome. Thanks. Appreciate it, Matt. Hello, everybody.
So quick, if you could quickly introduce yourself. I know you've got quite a new book coming out soon, and you've got a book out recently. So I'm sure a lot of people will be quite curious about it.
Well, I have a book out called I Am Sleeping Now. I got some markers in there because I'm doing some work, but I Am Sleeping Now is the first book I wrote about sleep. And I have another one coming out shortly called Sleep Like Rip Van Winkle. One of my favorite stories by Washington Irving way back in 1809. But it's a great story. So I'm using that as a metaphor to talk about sleep, and don't sleep your life away. Because as an empowerment coach, I'm helping people make the most of their 16 hours. We don't have a 24-hour day. We have a 16-hour day because 8 is reserved for sleep. So think about how you're going to use your 16 hours, not your 8, not your 24.
Yeah, it's a very good reminder to a lot of people, isn't it? It's like the reality is, if you want to have a healthy life, you don't have 24 hours days. Not at all. You have 16 maximum.
Right. The first key that I try to teach people that I coach, and I've been a clinical hypnotist for 17 years now. And the motivation for writing the book about sleep was most of the clients that came in here had some sleep issues. And I decided to put it into a book to teach people. But the first thing that I teach is you need to revere and respect sleep. And just plan on it. How we talk to ourselves about sleep, how we live our 16 hours in preparation for a good night's sleep, right? As we were talking earlier, Matt, you have to earn it. A good night's sleep is earned by how you use those 16 hours and choices you make throughout the day.
And I think one way I'd always add to that as well is sleep is a form of work. As in, if you sleep well, you're going to work better. You're going to be more productive. It should be an integral part of the day. It isn't just a nice to have. I got a fairly obvious question for you. So I think a lot of people, when they think of hypnotism, hypnotists, it's like, the swinging coin or something.
You are sleepy.
And what they see in the films. But my understanding is hypnotism's obviously evolved a lot from what people know, and it is used more and more. And
it's not what you see in the old movies or even the new Hollywood shows, and nor is it what you see on stage. Stage hypnosis is entertainment, but in a clinical setting, it becomes a tool to get past that gatekeeper that doesn't want to let new ideas into your wise mind, right? So we use hypnosis to kind of send that gatekeeper on coffee break so that the subconscious mind can hear and embrace suggestions for your intention. And when you lay down at night, your intention is to go to sleep. So therefore, you can use self-hypnosis to give your mind suggestions to help you fall into that sleep realm. Make sense?
It really does. Is there some sort of neuroscience behind that, or is it switching a limbic system?
There's absolutely neuroscience behind it. Our brain waves, when we're fully conscious right now, our brain waves are likely at their highest or near highest frequency. When we go to sleep, our brain waves slow down, and there are different stages between fully awake and asleep. So we can use our mind to calm ourselves, relax our mind and our body, and then our brain functions start to slow down. Imagine you have this ability to turn down your brain waves, right? Like imagining turning down a knob. Now, we can't feel our brain waves necessarily slowing down, but we can feel that sensation. You know you're drifting towards sleep. And in a hypnosis setting here in my office, we get people into that state between fully awake and asleep. Excuse me. Take over for 1 second.
So, I mean, I guess for the audience, in terms of something that relates to me, before this live discussion, I actually did some meditation. And I did it because I had a little bit of time in my diary. I was getting very stressed. My head was a bit all over the place. I had like, what do I do now? Having these thoughts spinning in my head. And I just took 5 minutes aside, just meditated. And in my way, that's a way of kind of just letting the negative voice just calm down. Everything filters out. And then afterwards, I felt so much better. And meditation is something I'm a big proponent of. But I imagine hypnosis is basically a way of having a very active way of dealing with the gremlins in our heads and the way we actually use our brains.
Well, people often ask me, what's the difference between hypnosis and meditation? And they're very close to the same thing. I differentiate hypnosis as a state where we're giving ourselves a good suggestion. So it's meditation with a suggestion. And it can be very general based on your intention, because your mind is looking for alignment between what you say you want and the behaviors that move you towards that. The person that says, boy, I want to get up every morning at 6 a.m. and do a 2-mile walk. But they get up and they have a cup of coffee and they watch the morning news and then they go to work. After a while, the subconscious mind goes, he's not serious or she's not serious, and gives up on that goal. So the subconscious mind's always paying attention in the present moment. The conscious mind's paying attention to the past and in the future, and that causes worries and fears and anxiety. But it's the subconscious mind that's living in the present moment. So think about that in the context of climbing into bed. And in that present moment, the intention is to get a good night's sleep. The intention is to fall asleep and stay asleep and hopefully wake up refreshed. But a lot of times we sabotage ourselves. You know, you could Google sleep hygiene list and get all of the standard recommendations. But in the end, we have to own the quality of our sleep. And what I like to tell my clients is have a relationship with it. Imagine that sleep, when you climb into bed, sleep's in the room with you. It's standing in the corner of the room, bedroom. And when you invite it, it comes to your bedside. What are you doing to invite sleep to your bedside? Things like getting physically calm and relaxed, getting mentally calm and relaxed. And how do we do that? That's the big question. You know, our mind races. How do we use our mind to calm our mind? And one of the keys is distracting it in a nice, positive, relaxed way. And you just kind of fall into that realm.
It's very interesting. And I know prior to this, we were talking about like the real causes of poor sleep and how it's important to tackle them. And this is what I like about what you're doing, the coaching hypnotism, because it's trying to deal with a root cause, which is basically what's going on inside here, right? And you can do all the sleep hygiene you like, you can take all the pills and whatever you like, but if this person in here ain't on board.
That's right. So, for example, how do you show sleep that you revere it and respect it, and you want it to come to your bedside? If you sleep with your phone on your pillow, sleep in the corner of the room is watching, going, he's not ready for sleep. He's playing on his phone. Or you've got the TV on at night. you have to condition yourself to eliminate these things. I had one client, she came in for a second session. She goes, my husband's mad at me because I took the TV out of the bedroom.
Big
But
fan.
then he started sleeping better also. But there's a host of things. Alcohol is a big one. Eating a big meal just before you go to sleep. All of these little things we can take back control of and change. We just have to be willing to. And we can use hypnosis to change habits as well. That's a widely known use. But
so can hypnosis work on anyone? Like anyone watching this now or afterwards, can they benefit from it? Or are there some parameters for people that works with them?
Absolutely. Now, to be serious, we're all hypnotizable. Some of us are more hypnotizable than others. But unless someone is such a skeptic, they're dead set against it, they won't allow another person to hypnotize them. But in reality, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Take your favorite hobby or what you do for work or even driving. You ever drive somewhere and you wonder how you arrived? It's like, how did I get here? We call that highway hypnosis. But everyone is suggestible. Some are more suggestible than others. And that's not being gullible. It's being open and willing to let your mind hear new ideas that support your intention. The person that wants to become a hot air balloon pilot, let's say. You can see balloons behind me. That's what I do for my hobby. Well, that person has to study, take lessons, get a student certificate, all of those things. And so the mind is looking to see that those steps are happening and then supports that goal.
And let's say somebody has issues with sleep and they come to you first time. What could they expect, yourself or any hypnotist in general, when it comes to sleep? Because
sure,
it's hard to wrap their head around sometimes.
Sure. My approach is to understand what's going on in their life that may be a factor. We do a little audit. I don't lecture them about sleep hygiene. I talk to them about some of the things we've mentioned about revering it in 16 hours and how are you using it. But the reality of what's going on in your life, what are you worried about? Is it money? Is it something else? Finances can keep us awake, as can other things in life. Sometimes it's regret or grief or unwilling to forgive and being so wrapped up in those things that your emotional intelligence quotient, if you will, is kind of low. And that's keeping you up. You're just getting so angry. You can feel your adrenaline and your heart pumping and all of those things. How do they affect your ability to sleep well? And it can be just routine. For example, I had a woman come in. She lived next door to her mother. And every night at 8:30, she and her mother would talk on the phone for an hour. And then it would keep her up. She loved her mother, but it was just like too much. So I said, look, why don't you just change the time that you talk to your mother? Do it at 4:30 instead of 8:30. That one little change made it easy for her to focus on getting her kids to bed, spending a little time with her husband, and then going to sleep. And it changed her life. That one little adjustment in her daily routine. But when someone comes in for the first time, we try to get a handle on what's really keeping them awake.
And based on, you mentioned change people's lives. When it comes to actual results, so obviously some people come to get a sleep fix, but from my experience, most people don't really care about sleep. They just care about what it gives us. So what have you seen change in some people that you've worked with, as in what's happened in their lives once they've got their sleep fixed?
Sure. Excellent question. One of the clients that I worked with is a CEO of a high-tech manufacturing company in Austin, Texas. He called me with sleep issues because he had manufacturing things going on in Taiwan. He had things going on in Europe. So he was always, and in a previous role, I did international support. So I understood the idea of time zones and who's doing what where. But he was consumed by that, got him to sleep better. And he had another issue that was keeping him awake at night that I'll tell you in a second. But I got him to kind of shift his beliefs about the 24-hour day to 16-8. And with some other things he did during the workday, he was able to shift his or lower his worry about the things that were keeping him up. And he also had another issue. He felt guilty for shooting so many snakes out on the plains in Texas, but he didn't. They were justified for protection, but he still felt guilty about having killed these snakes. I helped him put that in perspective, and he started sleeping like a baby.
And you mean literally he killed snakes? It's not a metaphor.
It's not a metaphor.
Okay.
I got him to shift his guilt to that of a superhero. He actually protected people. They'd be out camping or hiking, and there'd be a rattler right at their feet, that kind of thing. And I helped him deal with that and shift it, and he was okay with it and let it go. A lot of the work we do is about helping people let go of things that need to be let go of, how to stop worrying about things in the future that are unlikely to happen anyway, and taking control of your daily life by making better decisions that just make it easy when your head hits the pillow. Benjamin Franklin would say, you want to sleep well, turn in a good day. Yeah. So we get people to calm down and focus. I call it helping them empower themselves. So if you're empowered during the day, you're making better choices about your diet, about your routines, and just starting to get in touch with what makes you happy as a person. Are you using the gifts and talents and blessings you've been given during the day so that when you go to bed at night, you say, wow, today was good. Tomorrow's going to be better.
And I love that positive message, as in, I think it's very easy to get stuck in negatives around sleep.
It is.
You've got to do this, you should do this. And
so many Facebook groups talking about insomnia support. And what I learned a long time ago is most of those people are not looking for a cure. They're looking for sympathy and sharing concoctions and milkshakes and different things to help them sleep better when they're just unwilling to face it and make changes in their life. So you want to know how the I am sleeping method works? Everyone watching this now is going to sleep better tonight, I promise you. And it's not hard. So I teach what's called the relaxation response. Dr. Herman Benson, he's deceased, but he wrote a book in 1975 called The Relaxation Response. And there's actually a center at Mass General Hospital in Boston that focuses on teaching relaxation to oncology patients to strengthen their immune system. So everybody that comes into my office learns the relaxation response. Bear with me. When you talk for a living, every once in a while your voice goes, right? So the I am sleeping method is let's break it down. Before you go to bed, let's say you go to bed at 9:30 p.m. An hour before that, you're actually starting to wind down. And by winding down, I'm meaning you're starting to bring down the systems in your brain and your body, just getting more relaxed. A simple breathing technique. Maybe having a cup of green tea. Maybe just unwinding with a book, not on Kindle or screen, And by the way, those blue blocker glasses don't work. It's just another gimmick. And it's a $25 billion business, the sleep industry, in 2025. So the idea that you can take control by simply breathing. So right now, as you're watching, let's do this. I'm not going to hypnotize you, but take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Full belly breath. We have 5 lobes to our lungs. Exhale just like that. Pretty easy. That's all you need to do. There are a million gurus out there telling you how to breathe, but that's just a natural breath. Sit with yourself and do that for a couple of minutes, a half hour before you get into bed. The idea is you're climbing into bed already relaxed, already welcoming this idea of sleep. You're entering that 8-hour period of your life, and not everyone needs 8 hours of sleep, but that 8 hours is reserved for it. You know, before the light bulb was invented, farmers used to get up in the middle of the night, sometimes have a meal, sometimes have sex, and go back to bed. So they had 2 sleep periods. Very, very common knowledge. Now, in the modern era, in the industrial age, we get 1 8-hour stretch. So it's okay. Give yourself permission if you get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom or just wake up. You know you're going to go back to sleep. So that's okay. So this process, you take a nice deep breath. You climb into bed after you've relaxed. What happens when you take a nice deep breath? It's the opposite of the fear response. With the fear response, things tighten up and all of our breathing is in our upper lobes of our lungs. We're conserving energy. The relaxation response, Matt, is the opposite of that. Intentionally relaxing your body. What happens is your veins open up, your heart rate goes down because your heart's not working so hard. So imagine climbing into bed with a relaxed heart. You're already entering that zone. As a result of your veins opening up, you're getting better circulation, and the very cells in your baby toe are getting more oxygen than they were before you were doing that. So you're taking control by breathing. You climb into bed relaxed, and the step 1 is getting physically comfortable. You know, we all take a couple minutes, but we know when we're in that one position, like, okay, this is the position for sleep. Now sleep's over in the corner of the room watching you and says, oh, I know she's in that position. She's getting ready to go to sleep, and starts to come to the bedside, using this metaphor, right? So you get physically relaxed, and now it's time to get mentally relaxed. Some people fall asleep like that. Some people just take a little longer, but they let their mind take over. Here's the challenge. We need to distract our mind from the thoughts that would fill it if we weren't distracting it. So there's an unlimited, infinite way to distract our mind. And I'll mention 1 or 2. But so we get physically relaxed, we get mentally relaxed, and we start to just imagine going down deeper and deeper, letting ourselves get to that threshold, and then boom, falling through it. And after a couple of nights, you start to condition yourself. We used to sleep like a baby when we were babies, right? It's like a NiCad battery. It's running until it stops. You can hop into bed and condition yourself to just instantly fall asleep. No pills, no gadgets, no gimmicks. You don't need a smartwatch and check your sleep. Here's a big one. When people come into my office, Matt, they'll say, I wake up at 2 o'clock every night. So, well, how do you know it's 2 o'clock? It's a trick question, right? If you wake up in the middle of the night, here's the very first bit of wisdom you should adopt. Don't look at the clock. Or better yet, turn the clock away or take the clock out of the room. You don't need to know what time it is. The only thing you need to know is it's time to go back to bed. Because what happens? We wake up at 3 and we start to churn and mull over the next day and what do I have to do? And, oh, I might as well get up and work on my project. And now it's 5 o'clock. You've been up for 2 hours needlessly, right? If you don't look at the clock, how do you know? You just go back to sleep. So the key is, what's that?
I was going to say, it's very wise advice, and I feel a lot more calm after the breathing.
Yeah. It's amazing. So here's a technique I teach people in my office. So you take a few deep breaths. Take your thumb and finger and make a little circle. Maybe you can imagine holding a little piece of beach sand from your favorite beach or just anything. And just say, I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I'm in control. And then you say,
calm, relaxed, I'm in control.
And then you say, what's on the title of this book? I am sleeping now. The title of the book, the 4 most important words of that book are on the cover. But I still want you to grab the book, okay? In the book, we talk about how the U.S. military teaches you to fall asleep in 2 minutes, and how way back to the pharaohs in the days of Egypt and the pyramids, how they used hypnosis. They didn't call it that then because they didn't have that word yet, but they were using hypnosis to do surgeries and to heal people. And the book talks about the relaxation response, how to do it. And another thing that's really important is learning how to take a power nap. It's okay to take a power nap. I teach executives and other people, all walks of life, how to do that. A power nap should be no more than 12 minutes. It's better to take 2 or 3 12-minute power naps throughout the day if you need to, and they won't affect your sleep at night. You can take a 12-minute recharge. What happens is you get yourself into a state of self-hypnosis, but you're not letting yourself fall deeply into that first realm of sleep. So it takes more than 12 minutes to get there. So you're emerging from it before you can fall into that sleep that makes you feel groggy. So let's say you have to give a presentation or an important meeting, and you have the ability to close your office door and do this, or go sit in your car for 12 minutes and do it. Set your watch and just let yourself get calm, relaxed. This is in the book, How to Take a Power Nap. There's a whole chapter on it. That alone will change your life.
And I think at the end of the day, for a lot of people, it's a necessity, especially if you've got small children or got very big challenges in terms of getting at 8 hours earlier. Having the option to have power naps and knowing how to do them.
But the key is to give yourself permission. It's okay to take a 12-minute power nap now and then. Yeah. Here in my office, I'll do it a couple times a day between client appointments if I need to, Guilt-free.
One thing to touch on what you said about relaxation, I say this to a lot of my clients, but also to myself. We all, there's a big push to be productivity machines, and we all want to produce more, produce more, produce more. But looking at the quality of that time, I think is just as important as the quantity. As in, I could work 10 hours a day, but if I'm just doing random stuff without thinking, without being creative, I'm not doing myself any favors. Most of, especially executives, we're getting paid for our brains. We're not being paid. We're being paid for results. And one creative idea is worth more than 100 rubbish ideas. And,
absolutely.
And that's what creativity comes from. It's relaxation. It's having the chance for your brain to work properly. And
using self-hypnosis. And I have an excellent exercise that I'm glad to share with everybody.
Please.
The best way to get it is if you go to iamsleepingnow.com, it takes you to a sign-up page, and I'll send whoever signs up, I'll send them this. It's a simple 2-page self-hypnosis exercise that's intended to be 5 minutes. Once you get good at it, it can be 1 minute. You put yourself into this state, you feed yourself a good suggestion, or you might ponder a question and you emerge with an answer that you wouldn't have had before. So thank you for mentioning that.
Absolutely. So I'd like to look that up. Reminding to anyone watching, if you want to add a question, I'm more than happy to respond to that. I have 2 more questions for you, and I want to be careful because I know I want to preserve your voice. So
no, that's okay. I'm good.
I'll start with maybe the more controversial one, which is basically, what is the worst sleep advice out there? What are your top 2 or 3 things that you just hate the sound of? Like,
the worst sleep advice has to be around your sleep answer is in your blood results. We have to analyze your blood and then come up with a supplement concoction to address your specific blood lab result indicators. It's all in the blood work. Well, that's nonsense. There might be something to it if you're unhealthy, but let your doctor do it. A real medical doctor. I guess that's the worst advice.
Mm-hmm. Basic like supplements. I mean, I think we were talking about before this call. Like everyone says, magnesium is amazing. Magnesium helps sleep, but if you look at the papers on it, it's not that impressive. And it's just so many myths around supplements. I mean, you mentioned the sleep industry is $25 billion, right? The supplement
Correct.
industry is $135 billion. It's 6 times bigger. And like we all know that sleep's way more.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, we both know that sleep will improve anyone's health probably 10x more than any supplement. If sleep was a supplement, it'd be the only supplement people would take. But yeah,
the other bad
this is
advice,
the problem we face.
Here's the other common bad advice that everyone will acknowledge. Sleep when you're dead. Right? I'll sleep when I'm dead. One, you can't bank sleep and make it up. And sleep, if you believe, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead, you're making sleep a low priority. You're making the quality of your life a low priority. You're not going to be fulfilled. You're not going to be at any kind of potential. You're just going to be kind of bouncing through your life. So you have to look at self-limiting beliefs. And if you believe that, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead, maybe younger people think that because, you can pull an all-nighter and still go to work the next day. But are you performing? It might not be work-related. Sleep plays a big role in your role as a parent, as a friend. If you have pursuits outside of work that you like to follow, any of those things, sleep becomes the common thread, doesn't it?
So for anyone watching this, what would be some, let's say, take-home advice you'd give? I think you've given a lot of advice already, but if there's just like 1 or 2 things that someone should do differently tonight, what would you say?
Tonight, what I would do is look at last night's routine, and what do you want to change about it? Change what you're going to have for dinner. Don't have any alcohol 3 hours before bed. Maybe turn off the television an hour before bed and put your nose in a good book that you've been wanting to read. Leave your telephone on the dresser, out of reach, or in another room. There's nothing happening on social media that matters when sleep is what's next. So think about when sleep is what's next, what am I going to change tonight? Because it's so important to wake up more refreshed than you may be. Then you wake up in the morning and you say, wow, I slept better, and tonight I'm going to sleep even better. And you start to look at, what am I going to change during the day? And it can be something as simple as changing your diet so that you don't have so much inflammation, as a start, to answer your question.
Amazing advice. I echo that 100%.
In the book.
Amazing.
Go ahead.
So on that note, you mentioned the book. What's the best place that people can find that information on you, contact you if they'd like to?
Sure. Well, you can get the book on Amazon, I Am Sleeping Now, by me. You can also go to bobmartel.com and find the book section. You'll see that. But if you go to iamsleepingnow.com, sign up, get on the list. I don't bug people, but I'd be glad to share a few resources that'll help you sleep better and help you learn how to use self-hypnosis in your daily life. It's a wonderful tool.
Amazing. And it's something I think it's a lot clearer to me now. And ultimately, I love it because it's dealing with a root cause of a problem when it comes to sleep. And I think that's what we need more of in this world, not just for sleep, but for fitness, nutrition, for business. I think we're all so caught up on these little symptoms that seem like quick fixes. We're not really opening up to what really makes our lives better. So I'm really grateful for that.
This concept of sleep to win, right? Armies going way back to Hannibal and before used sleep as a strategic tool in conquering the world, or whatever their world at the time. So the military uses sleep. Athletes today, actually, there are actual sleep coaches in their athletic development centers. Athletes know how to take a power nap. Business people, moms at home or dads at home with little kids, you sleep when you can in those scenarios. But we can all, I guess my message really, Matt, is we can sleep well to live well by taking back control. We just have to be willing. And be willing and stop whining, I can't sleep. When you say I can't sleep, guess what? That's what happens. Whatever we believe is true to us, right? So when you say I can sleep better tonight than I did last night, your subconscious mind starts to believe that and find the answers to that. So our self-talk about the topic of sleep is vitally important. So using our mind, my theory is the only sleep device we need is up here, right? We don't need to buy any technology. In writing the book, I interviewed a monk somewhere in Southeast Asia, and he said, Bob, I sleep on the ground on a little tatami mat in a hut. And if I can get a good night's sleep on rocks, anyone with any mattress can sleep better.
And I can't. I mean, certainly I agree on this as well. Like I quite famously had a very expensive bed. I put my hand up on this, but it was out of desperation than anything else because I didn't know what else to do at the time. And I think a bed can definitely improve sleep, but it's rarely going to be the causational factor. So if someone has insomnia, it's rarely the bed's fault. 95 times out of 100 it isn't. And
I'm glad you mentioned that word, insomnia. Not every sleep issue is insomnia.
No.
There are 9 medical diagnoses for insomnia. And it takes a sleep doctor to diagnose true insomnia, not Dr. Google. That's an important point. So
Very.
when someone says, "Oh, I'm an insomniac," I always say, "Well, where'd you get that diagnosis?" And I shift it to, "You have trouble sleeping. Let's fix it." That's an
On that
important.
note, on that note, yeah, I think there's so much useful advice in this, so I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, any leaving points, Bob? Otherwise, we're happy to save your voice for another day.
Okay, well, I've enjoyed this. I hope people watching or watch a replay learn or discover how to sleep better. Lying in bed, right? Just to talk about finishing that, you relax before you get into bed. You get in bed, you're relaxing physically. Sleep over in the corner of the room starts to approach the bed. Right? You start to relax mentally. I already taught you how to take a deep breath and go, "I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I'm in control." And then you say those 4 words, "I am sleeping now." Nice deep breath. I am sleeping now. And you do that as many times as you can. You try to do it 10 times. By the time you get to 3, 4, or 5, you might be asleep. And if you're still awake, you can do other things to distract your mind in a calm, relaxed way that allows sleep to just come right into bed with you. That's how simple it is. It might seem simplistic, and all of us hypnotists, and by the way, Hypnos was the god of sleep. That's where the word hypnosis comes from, right? But hypnotists know that sleep is easy when we take back control. That's the message. So go to iamsleepingnow.com, get on the list. I'll send you a few resources.
I love it. So I'll end the stream here, and anyone ask questions later, we're always happy to have a look at the comments. So take care.
Okay, thank you, Matt.